One of the very few contested races for town offices is taking place in Arlington, where incumbent Select Board Chairman Keith Squires is being challenged by Todd Wilkins, who is currently the chairman of the Arlington School District's school board. Squires is one of the longest continuously serving Select Board members in the county, having been a member of the board for the past 37 years. He has served as the chairman of the board for the past 22 years. Todd Wilkins served on the Arlington School Board from 2008 to 2013 and has coached soccer for Arlington High School for over 15 years. He also served as a board chairman for the school board during that period. He was reappointed to the Arlington School Board in 2018 and returned to the chairmanship last year. He's also an officer with the Vermont State Police. We spoke with both candidates recently about why they were running for the 3-year position on the Arlington Select Board and what issues they saw coming up in the near future.
Well, I think that there's no question but what experience makes a difference. A town government operation is sort of unique. It's not anything like a company. It's not anything like running a home business. There's too many rules and regulations that go along with it that you can only learn after a number of years working with them and dealing with them. So I think it's important. Just the last 37 years I've been here, I've learned quite a few of the things that need to be done on a regular basis. And I've managed everything that's gone on for the last few years since I've been chair. Not to say the other board members don't do their work too, they do, but there's always the final paperwork that has to be done. So I think that's probably the big thing. I think as far as where we are, where we're going, we've done a lot of road maintenance and normal upkeep. We've tried to keep up with the state requirements as far as culverts, bridges, all of that stuff. We've been able to replace, over the last 10 years, we've replaced some major structures around town as far as drainage goes, and that's all part important. Irene taught us a lesson, we've learned from it, and we're trying to move ahead with that and continue to. We've got quite a few projects for this year we've got to get done. So that's kind of the reason I think they hopefully will check my name off on the box. Probably one of the biggest things we've done over the last 4 years now is go through the process of taking over the water department. That the water company was at a point where they were going to sell to somebody, and not knowing who might be the purchaser, the town made up its mind to take it over and do what needed to be done to maintain that system for the users in town. We've worked with that for almost 3 years, going on 4 years now, and I think we've come a long ways. We've done several improvements as far as part of the purchase goes. Water quality's improved, pressure's improved, fire protection has improved greatly throughout the whole town. So I think that's probably the biggest one. Along with that, we've had several road projects along the way, some major culverts, some major structures. We've just finished one on Ball Mountain Road. That was about a $140,000 project, and the state of Vermont grants paid for 90% of that. So we've got another project coming this year. We've got funding for Sandgate Road. We're going to rebuild the last section of that, plus some other small blacktop areas around town. Plus we'll be doing a few more structures this year, smaller ones probably, not big ones, but we've got several in the works right now. Purchase of new vehicles. We've got a new town truck we've got to get ordered, probably a loader this year. So there's quite a few things on the list. I think probably the supervisor coming in, administrator, is going to be a challenge for any new person to try to learn the town of Arlington. I think that's another reason why it's kind of important that I hang around for a while longer to help work through that process. Well, I think the administrator is obviously the big thing to start with, to make sure we get somebody on board that's up and running, and they're going to need a lot of help to get started. A new person in town won't know one end of town from the other, and that's not their fault, but they've got to learn it. So any help I can give them will just move that whole process along and let them be able to deal with some of the new things that are coming up. there's a lot of talk around town as far as septic systems go and that sort of thing. And so there's going to be some issues to look at. We've already got a lot of information on that. We'll be probably reviewing and going over again and trying to make sure it all works. It's been a challenge at times, but it's enjoyable to be able to give something to the town. Lived here all my life, and it's good to be able to give back what you can.
Something I've actually been paying attention to for a long time, really ever since I got into the school board, was town government, and the reason being was I wanted to see how town government and school government could work together to kind of improve both school and town government. I chose the school board route for a long time because that was most near and dear to my heart with kids in school. And being such a big fan of the Arlington School District, coming from it myself and my wife coming from it, that's where I chose to kind of start my career in, I hate to use the word career, but my time in these different types of organizations and boards. And now that I've gotten into that and gotten a little more involved in my community, I see there's a need in our town government for some change. Strengths, just kind of proven leadership, proven transparency. I think I've been about 7 years on the Arlington School Board in 2 different stints, and both times we've brought great transparency to our board. We have pushed our schools to be better, and we have been successful in both of those things. Not only that, my love for this community. Both my wife and I grew up here. We both have professions where we could live anywhere in this world and be successful, but we both chose to stay here, both chose to raise our family here. Arlington is an amazing community for families to live in, and I believe that with some good quality leadership moving forward, that we can keep that sustainable for future families to move into.
And if you're successful in your attempt to win the select board seat, you'll stay on the school board?
I will for the foreseeable future. I do believe that having a couple people on both boards would be very helpful to bring those two together. We're a very small rural community. Our schools and our town government really have to work together very, very closely. Let's face it, the town or the community revolves around our schools. That's what happens in small rural communities. And having both boards work together very closely, I think, would be beneficial not only for the school, but beneficial for the town as well.
What is your feeling about the town administrator position? I mean, one of the questions has been whether or not that should be a full-time or a part-time position. I guess, first of all, do you feel the town needs one? And if so, should that be a full-time position or not?
Well, it was the group that I chaired, the governance committee, that came up with it. We're the ones that presented the idea over a year ago to the community, to the select board, about this being a full-time position. It was our recommendation at the time. We even did the financial analysis for them of what it was going to cost, so that they were prepared for this. We did the presenting to the town. We were advocates and big supporters of a full-time town administrator to help move Arlington in the direction that it really needs to be moved in. The select board, after the voters approved it, wanted a part-time position. They ran into the same stumbling blocks as we predicted they were going to run into, and that was finding a good quality candidate that wanted to work part-time. Thankfully, over the last year, they have since changed their position on that and now have approved to hire a full-time. I'm excited for that selection committee to find the right candidate for Arlington, to get that person in place and to get that position really underway. I think the town needs growth. It needs growth economically. It needs growth in housing. It needs to be done in a very smart, intelligent way. We can't just sit around and talk about things. We actually have to put some plans into action on how we're going to start addressing these things. In order for Arlington and as a town and Arlington schools to be sustainable, we need young families to move here. Arlington is a phenomenal community for young families. I think you'll find that most young families that move here love it. Most young families want to stay here. But we need to continue to attract those young families here. They need housing. They need places to stay. They need places to shop. They need places to go buy coffee, all those things. Do we have some of that? Yes, we do, but we've lost a lot over the years, and we need to do a better job of making sure that we attract those businesses here and keep the businesses that we have here that will also bring in our nice young families that want to live here.
Voting will take place in Arlington on March 3rd. The voting will be held at the Arlington High School gym, and the polls will be open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.